Hi, good day. I am Cherry Miranda. I'm 34 years old. I am working in Singapore and I'm presently enrolled in New Era University under Vantage Education Management, taking up Masters of Business Administration. I am doing this audio-visual presentation from my final report in my MBA 101 subject, which we were required to discuss a topic, and I chose week 13 to report. The topic is about conflict and negotiation, and the reason why I chose this topic is because I wanted to understand the nature of conflict, the different types of conflict that we experience in our day-to-day lives. I also wanted to learn the different process of negotiation, the techniques and the strategies of successful negotiation. So I hope you can all learn in this mini presentation of mine. Conflicts occur when people or other parties perceive that, as a consequence of a disagreement, there is a threat to their needs, interests, or concerns. Although conflict is a normal part of organization life, providing numerous opportunities for growth through improved understanding and insight, there is a tendency to view conflict as a negative experience caused by abnormally difficult circumstances. Disputants tend to perceive limited options and finite resources available in seeking solutions, rather than multiple possibilities that may exist outside the box. In most conflicts, neither party is right or wrong. Instead, different perceptions collide to create disagreement. Conflict is natural, and it's up to you to respond to conflict situations quickly and professionally. Conflict can be very positive if you deal with it openly. You can strengthen your work unit by correcting problems. Conflicting views give you a chance to learn more about yourself, explore views of others, and develop productive relationships. Clear and open communication is the cornerstone of successful conflict resolution. The traditional view of conflict was consistent with attitudes about group behavior that prevailed in the 1930s and 1940s. Conflict was a dysfunctional outcome resulting from poor communication, a lack of openness and trust between people, and the failure of managers to be responsive to the needs and aspirations of their employees. The view that all conflict is bad certainly offers a simple approach to looking at the behavior of people who create conflict. We need merely direct our attention to the causes of conflict and correct those malfunctions to improve group and organizational performance. This view of conflict fell out of favor for a long time as researchers came to realize that some level of conflict was inevitable. The interactionist view of conflict is a belief that conflict is not only a positive force in a group, but also an absolute necessity for a group to perform effectively. The interactionist view does not propose that all conflicts are good. Rather, functional conflict supports the goals of the group and improves its performance and is, thus, a constructive form of conflict. A conflict that hinders group performance is a destructive or dysfunctional conflict. What differentiates functional from dysfunctional conflict? The evidence indicates we need to look at the type of conflict: task, relationship, and process. Studies demonstrate that relationship conflicts are almost always dysfunctional. Why? It appears that the friction and interpersonal hostilities inherent in relationship conflicts increase personality clashes and decrease mutual understanding, which hinders the completion of organizational tasks. Unfortunately, Managers spend a lot of effort resolving personality conflicts among staff members. One survey indicated this task consumes 18% of their time. In contrast, low levels of process conflict and low to moderate levels of task conflict can be functional, but only in very specific cases. Recent reviews have shown that task conflicts are usually just as disruptive as relationship conflicts. For process conflict to be productive, it must be kept low. Intense arguments about who should do what become dysfunctional when they create uncertainty about task roles, increase the time to complete tasks, and lead to members working at cross purposes. Low to moderate levels of task conflict stimulate discussion of ideas. This means task conflicts relate positively to creativity and innovation, but they are not related to routine task performance. Group performing routine tasks don't require creativity won't benefit from task conflict. Moreover, if the group is already engaged in active discussion of ideas in a non-confrontational way, adding conflict will not help generate more ideas. Task conflict is also related to those positive outcomes only when all members share the same goals and have high levels of trust. The conflict process can be seen as comprising 5 stages. 1. Potential opposition or incompatibility. 2. Cognition and personalization. 3. Intentions. 4. Behavior. And 5. Outcomes. The first step in the conflict process is the presence of conditions that create opportunities for conflicts to arise. They need not lead directly to conflict, but one of these conditions is necessary if conflict is to surface. For simplicity's sake, these conditions have been condensed into 3 general categories: communication, structure, and personal variables. The communication source represents the opposing forces that arise from semantic difficulties, misunderstandings, and noise in the communication channels. A review of the research suggests that differing word connotations, jargon, insufficient exchange of information, and noise in the communication channel are all barriers to communication and potential antecedent conditions to conflict. The term structure is used in this context to include variables such as size, degree of specialization in the tasks assigned to group members, jurisdictional clarity, member goal compatibility, leadership styles, reward systems, and the degree of dependence among groups. Research indicates that size and specialization act as forces to stimulate conflict. The larger the group and the more specialized its activities, the greater the likelihood of conflict. Tenure and conflict appear inversely related, meaning the potential for conflict tends to be greatest when group members are younger and when turnover is high. Personal variables are attributes to conflict. As practical experience has taught us, some people are conflict-oriented and others are conflict-aversive. Evidence indicates that certain personality types, for example, individuals who are highly authoritarian and dogmatic, lead to potential conflict. Emotions can also cause conflict, as well as the personality traits and culture. If the conditions cited in stage 1 negatively affect something that one party cares about, then the potential for opposition or incompatibility becomes actualized in the second stage. As our definition of conflict notes, perception is required. One or more of the parties must be aware of the existence of the antecedent conditions. However, because a conflict is perceived does not make it personalized. In other words, A may be aware that B and A are in serious disagreement, but it may not make A tense or anxious, and it may have no effect whatsoever on A's affection towards B.